What if everything you are forcing is waiting for you to let go? There are things in life that move farther away the harder you chase them. A relationship that remains unclear, a message that never comes, an opportunity that seems close, yet never fully opens, a version of success you keep imagining, not always because it excites you, but because you are tired of feeling behind. Maybe what you want is not dramatic at all. Maybe you only want peace, a quiet morning, a calm heart, a life that no longer feels like something you must constantly push, fix, prove, or control. But the more you force, the more exhausted you become. The more you grip, the more afraid you feel. The more you demand an answer from life, the more life seems to move in silence. Buddhist wisdom does not shame you for wanting. It does not tell you to become cold, passive, or detached from your dreams. It invites you to look more deeply at the place where desire becomes suffering, because your pain does not only come from what has not arrived. It comes from the belief that if it does not arrive, you will not be okay. You will not be worthy. You will not be loved. You will not be safe. This audiobook is not here to tell you to give up. It is here to help you stop hurting yourself while you wait. It will guide you to see the difference between effort and force, love and attachment, patience and passivity, surrender and defeat. Sometimes what you want has not come because the conditions are not ready. Sometimes it has not come because you are still learning how to hold it with peace. Sometimes it does not come because life is protecting you from a path too small for the person you are becoming. And sometimes the thing you have been waiting for is not outside of you at all. It is the return to your own center. To stop forcing does not mean to stop caring. It means to stop turning your desire into a weapon against your own heart. It means doing your part with sincerity, then allowing life to breathe. When your mind stops pushing out of fear, something inside you softens, your vision becomes clearer, your heart becomes wider, and what is truly meant for your path can finally find space to arrive. Chapter 1. Why the more you force, the more restless your mind becomes. Look honestly at what happens when you need something to happen right now. Your hand reaches for your phone before you even notice it. Your eyes check the screen again. Your chest tightens at every silence. One part of you tries to go through the day, but another part is trapped inside a message, a result, a decision, a sign that has not appeared yet. From the outside, you may seem calm. You work. You smile. You answer people. You do what needs to be done. Inside, your mind is running. It creates conversations that never happened. It repeats old scenes. It asks why someone has not replied, why the opportunity has not opened, why other people seem to be moving forward while you are still waiting. This is where Buddhist wisdom begins with compassion. You are not suffering only because something has not arrived. You are suffering because your mind is fighting the fact that it has not arrived. There is a difference between waiting and resisting. Waiting can be peaceful. Resisting burns your energy. A mind that wants to control everything never rests, because it always finds something that is not yet the way it wants. If someone does not answer, the mind invents a story. If a dream takes time, the mind calls you a failure. If life does not move at the speed you expected, the mind turns delay into rejection. That is how suffering grows. It seems to come from the world, but it is fed by the way the mind clings to the world. Forcing does not create healthy conditions. A relationship does not become more real because you pressure it. An opportunity does not become more mature because you chase it in panic. Another person's heart does not open because your fear knocks louder. In life, as in nature, some things only grow when they have space. If you plant a seed and dig it up every morning to see if it has sprouted, you are not helping it. You are damaging it. In the same way, when you push a process before its time, you may not speed it up, you may weaken it, or you may weaken yourself. Practice begins when you can look at reality without declaring war on it. This does not mean you approve of everything. It does not mean you do nothing. It means you can say, with honesty, right now, this has not arrived yet. That simple sentence can return a piece of your power to you. When you accept the present moment, you stop wasting all your strength denying it. From there, you can act with more clarity. You can send the message that needs to be sent, but not 20 messages born from panic. You can prepare for an opportunity, but not punish yourself every night because it has not appeared. You can love someone, but not turn that love into surveillance. In Buddhism, peace is not found when the world obeys all your desires. Peace begins when you stop believing your mind must control every movement of life in order to be safe. Maybe you are not tired of waiting. Maybe you are tired of gripping. Maybe it is not only the silence that hurts you, but all the stories you have built around that silence. Maybe it is not only the delay of your dream that exhausts you, but the belief that if it does not come soon, you are not enough. Breathe before you push again. Place a hand on your chest if you need to. Remember that reality does not always open through pressure. Often it opens through maturity. Today, you do not have to solve your entire life. You only need to stop turning this moment into your enemy. Do what belongs to you with dignity. Let what does not belong to you unfold in its own time. The mind becomes restless when it tries to control everything. The heart begins to rest when it understands that not everything must be forced in order to be real. Chapter 2. Attachment is not love, it is fear in disguise. There is a kind of wanting that looks like love, but underneath it is full of fear. You can recognize it when your peace depends on someone behaving exactly as you hope. It appears when your entire day collapses because one person did not text, did not return, did not understand, did not choose what you needed them to choose. It may feel intense. It may even feel deep, but intensity is not always love. Sometimes it is attachment. Love sees the other person as a living being, free, changing, walking their own path. Attachment sees the other person as a source of safety. That is where suffering begins. When one person becomes the only proof that you matter, every distance feels like danger. When one achievement becomes the only proof that your life has meaning, every delay feels like humiliation. When one answer becomes the only way to calm your anxiety, every minute of silence becomes a form of torture. Buddhist wisdom does not ask you to become cold. It does not ask you to close your heart. It invites you to love more cleanly, without turning what you love into a rope around your neck. You can love someone without controlling them. You can pursue a goal without destroying yourself. You can hope for something beautiful without turning the waiting into a prison. Attachment says, if this does not happen, I cannot be okay. Mature love says, this matters to me, but I will not abandon my soul to obtain it. The difference is subtle, but it changes an entire life. Imagine holding sand in your hand. If you close your fist tightly, the sand escapes through your fingers. The harder you squeeze, the less remains. If your hand opens, more stays naturally. Life often works in the same way. What you try to possess in desperation begins to lose its beauty. A relationship squeezed by fear stops breathing. A dream turned into obsession stops inspiring you and starts chasing you. Even spirituality can become attachment if you use it to demand immediate peace, as if meditation were just another way to control pain. The path is not about feeling nothing. It is about feeling without becoming chained. You may need to ask yourself, with honesty, am I loving or am I trying not to feel abandoned? Another question may go even deeper. Am I working toward this dream from inspiration or from the terror of being nobody? Do not answer too quickly. Some truths need silence before they reveal themselves. Many people confuse letting go with not caring. That confusion creates fear. They believe that if they let go, they will lose the person, the opportunity, the purpose, the hope. But letting go does not mean saying, "This no longer matters." It means saying, "I will not allow this to destroy my peace." In Buddhist teaching, suffering arises when we treat what is changing as if it were permanent, and what cannot belong to us as if it could be possessed completely. Nothing in this world can be held without changing. People change, paths change, feelings change. Even the version of you who wanted something years ago is changing. When you understand this, you do not become indifferent. You become more respectful toward life. You stop asking every person, goal, or result to save you. You allow love to be love, not a bandage over a wound you have not yet looked at. You allow work to be work, not a courtroom where your worth is judged. You allow an answer to be an answer, not the center of your existence. That is a deep freedom. Today, begin with something small. Notice what you are most afraid to lose. Feel how your body tightens when you imagine it not arriving, leaving, or changing. Instead of attacking that fear, accompany it. Say quietly, "I see you. I know you are afraid, but I do not need to cling in order to be safe." At first, you may not fully believe it. That is okay. Practice does not require perfection. It requires presence. Little by little, the heart learns it can love without begging, wait without humiliation, and walk without invisible chains. Attachment grips because it is afraid. True love breathes because it trusts. And when you learn to breathe, even what you love no longer feels like a threat. Chapter 3. What has not arrived is not always rejection. Sometimes the conditions are not ready. Do not turn every delay into a sentence against yourself. A door that does not open today does not mean all doors are closed. A reply that takes time does not mean your life has been forgotten. A dream that does not appear when you demanded it does not prove you are less worthy, less capable, or less loved by life. In the Buddhist way of seeing, nothing arises from one cause alone. Everything appears when many conditions come together. A flower does not bloom just because the seed wants to bloom. It needs soil, water, light, temperature, time, space. It also needs the seed to break quietly beneath the ground. Your life is no different. A result does not depend only on your desire. It depends on timing, people, preparation, circumstances you cannot yet see, movements happening beyond your control, and sometimes an inner maturity that is still forming. You may call this karma, causes and conditions, or simply the moment not being complete yet. The problem begins when the mind interprets what is incomplete as failure. If you do not get the job, you say, "I am not enough." If someone does not return, you say, "I am not worth choosing." If the project does not grow quickly, you say, "I am wasting my time." Notice the pain inside those sentences. None of them describe the facts clearly. They turn an external result into a personal identity. Wisdom begins when you separate what happened from what your fear says it means. Not receiving a call is a fact. Thinking, "No one cares about me," is a wound speaking. Not getting an opportunity is a fact. Thinking, "My life is going nowhere," is a conclusion born from exhaustion. Between the fact and the story, there is space. In that space, your freedom lives. Imagine someone who wants to change careers. They send applications, prepare for interviews, improve their skills, but nothing happens. Every rejection feels like a stone. They begin to believe they are behind. Yet during that time, they learn how to communicate better. They become clearer about what kind of workplace they no longer want. They grow more honest about their strengths. Months later, a different opportunity appears. It was not the first one they imagined. It did not arrive when they demanded it, but it fits the person they had become. If the first door had opened too early, they might have entered a place that could not support their growth. This does not mean every rejection is secretly a blessing. Said carelessly, that can sound cruel to someone who is hurting. Buddhism does not need to deny pain in order to find wisdom. Losing hurts. Waiting is tiring. Not knowing can feel heavy. Still, you can hold a wider truth. Not everything that takes time is abandoning you. Sometimes life is gathering conditions. Sometimes it is showing you that the path you wanted was not as stable as it seemed. Sometimes it is developing in you a capacity you will need later. When desire becomes impatient, it only sees the closed door. Awareness sees the hallway, the windows, the keys you have not tried yet, and the strength you are developing while the door remains closed. Do not use delay as a reason to insult yourself. Use the pause to prepare. If a relationship is not becoming clear, do not spend your whole soul chasing it. Look at what kind of love you are willing to accept. If a job has not appeared, keep learning without deciding your worth depends on one interview. If an answer is late, protect your mind from turning silence into poison. External conditions do not always obey your calendar. Inner dignity can be cultivated today. That part belongs to you. When the conditions mature, you will walk with steadier feet. And if something does not come, you will have enough clarity not to keep knocking on a door that was never your home. What has not arrived is not always rejection. Sometimes it is preparation. Sometimes it is protection. Sometimes it is an invitation to see wider. Breathe with that possibility. Not to numb your desire, but to stop wounding yourself with a conclusion that came too soon. Chapter 4. Your impatience is pointing to a wound that still needs to be seen. Impatience rarely speaks only about the future. Very often, it speaks about the past. That is why it feels so intense. You are not waiting only for an answer, an opportunity, or a sign. You are waiting for something to calm a part of you that has been afraid for a long time. When someone does not answer and your chest drops, perhaps it is not only about that person. It may touch an old memory of being ignored. When a project takes time and you feel shame, perhaps it is not only about the project. It may touch an old need to prove you are not a failure. When you see others moving forward and comparison fills your mind, perhaps you are not really looking at their lives. You are touching a wound that says, I am being left behind. I am not enough. No one will choose me. Buddhist practice invites you to observe suffering without turning it into an enemy. You do not need to judge your anxiety. You need to listen to it. Impatience is a wound speaking. It does not always speak clearly. Sometimes it speaks as urgency, sometimes as anger, sometimes as exhaustion, envy, control, obsession, or the desire to give up. Instead of asking only, when will it arrive? Ask something more honest. What inside me would collapse if this never came? That question may hurt, but it opens a real door. You may discover that you did not only want love, you wanted to stop feeling replaceable. Maybe you did not only want success, you wanted permission to respect yourself. Perhaps you did not need an apology as much as you needed someone to acknowledge the pain you carried in silence. None of this makes you weak. It makes you human. When the mind has not been accompanied, it searches outside for what it does not know how to hold inside. That is why it turns a person into shelter, a result into identity, and a reply into medicine. The problem is that no external result can permanently heal a wound that has not been seen with love. It may calm you for a moment. It may give you temporary relief, but if the root remains untouched, soon you will need another sign, another proof, another confirmation. The practice begins by stopping, not stopping life, but stopping the automatic reaction. When you feel you cannot wait any longer, do not immediately run toward the phone, the argument, the demand, or the fantasy. Stay with yourself for one breath, then another. Ask gently, what fear is trying to protect me right now? Do not attack it. Fear that is attacked either hides or shouts louder. Fear that is heard begins to soften. Imagine a child inside you saying, I do not want to be abandoned again. If you answer that child with violence, the pain grows. If you say, I am here, I will not leave you alone, even if someone else takes time to answer, something begins to heal. You do not need the whole world to give you safety before you begin treating yourself safely. You do not need life to resolve everything today before you stop speaking to yourself as if you were the problem. Impatience shows you where you are still searching outside for a guarantee you can start cultivating within. Your desires matter. Your dreams matter. Your need for love, stability, and meaning matters. But none of those needs should become a reason to abandon yourself. If what you are waiting for takes time, let the waiting become a mirror. What is it showing you? Dependence? Fear of not being chosen? Shame? Loneliness? The need to control? Every answer is a seed of awakening, not to blame you, but to help you know yourself. What you can see with awareness no longer has to control you from the shadows. Maybe you still want the same answer, the same person, the same outcome. That is okay. Just add something new. Do not place your whole life in its hands. Your peace cannot depend on a notification. Your worth cannot depend on a contract. Your dignity cannot depend on someone realizing late what you were worth from the beginning. When the wound starts to be seen, waiting stops being only torture. It becomes practice. Something inside you softens. The urgency loses its sharpness, not because you no longer care, but because you are finally coming home to yourself. Chapter 5. Impermanence. Everything comes, stays for a while, changes, and leaves. Nothing stays exactly the same, not even this pain. It may feel permanent while you are inside it. A tired mind often says, "It will always be like this." But that sentence is not wisdom. It is exhaustion speaking. Look at the sky for a few moments. A cloud that seemed to cover everything moves without asking permission. The color of the afternoon slowly changes. Light touches things, then withdraws. A river never touches the same stone with the same water twice. A leaf that is green today will carry another shade tomorrow, and there is no tragedy in that change. Life is made of movement. The teaching of impermanence is not meant to make you sad. It is meant to free you from the illusion that one emotion, one stage, or one loss will be your permanent home. Today's anxiety is not a life sentence. Someone's silence right now is not necessarily the final word in your story. A closed door today does not mean every road has ended. When you forget impermanence, you try to freeze life. You want a person to feel the same forever. You want a plan to unfold exactly as imagined. You want a painful phase to end immediately, but the pleasant things to remain untouched. This demand breaks the heart because it fights the nature of existence. Everything changes. The pleasant changes. The painful changes too. Even the person you are while you wait is changing. You may not notice it because you are looking too closely at the result. Yet something within you is moving. One part of you is growing tired of suffering in the same old way. Another part is learning to see more deeply. A new version of you is beginning to appear, one that no longer wants to live kneeling before what it cannot control. This understanding does not erase pain at once. No one truly awakens by pretending nothing hurts. Buddhism does not ask you to smile while your heart is broken. It asks you to look at the broken heart with presence and remember, this too is changing. Not as an empty phrase, but as a truth you can observe in your own body. The breath enters and leaves. A tear appears and dries. A thought rises and fades. A sensation grows, reaches intensity, then lowers. Everything moves when the mind does not grip it too tightly. Try this when waiting becomes heavy. Instead of saying, "I cannot bear this," say inwardly, "This is a wave." A wave can be strong, but it is not the whole ocean. It can strike you, but it does not define the depth of the sea. Your life is wider than this delay. Your heart is larger than one unanswered message. Your path is not reduced to the scene that hurts you now. When you understand impermanence, you stop demanding that the present become permanent. If something beautiful arrives, you receive it with gratitude, not possession. If something leaves, you grieve it, but you do not destroy your soul trying to hold it in place. If a season becomes uncertain, you walk through it step by step, knowing it too will change. This is not naive peace. It does not come from believing nothing difficult will happen. It comes from knowing that even difficulty moves. Some dawns take time to feel like dawns. First, there is only a faint line, almost invisible. Then the darkness loses strength. Later, quietly, the day appears. Maybe your life is in that faint line. You do not see the full light yet, but something is already moving. Do not rush the dawn within you. Do not call the night eternal either. Stay present. Breathe with what changes. Let pain be a visitor, not an identity. Let waiting be a season, not a prison. Everything comes, stays for a while, changes, and leaves. When you remember this, the heart stops gripping so violently, and when it loosens, it can finally rest. Chapter 6. Waiting is not standing still, it is practicing in silence. Letting go does not mean abandoning your life. This matters because many people hear the words "let go" and believe they must give up, stop trying, silence their dreams, sit still, and call resignation spirituality. That is not wisdom. That is confusion. Buddhist practice does not make you passive. It makes you more aware of the energy from which you act. Some actions come from fear. Others come from clarity. From the outside, they may look almost the same. A person can work long hours from inspiration or from panic. They can send a message from honesty or from the need to control. They can continue a project from discipline or from the terror of feeling worthless. The difference is not always in what you do. It is in what is moving you from within. Conscious waiting means continuing to do what belongs to you without torturing yourself over what does not yet belong to you. You still work. You still learn. You care for your body. You organize your mind. You open your heart to new possibilities. You ask for help when needed. You make decisions when the moment arrives. But you stop punishing yourself every day because the fruit has not appeared yet. The person who grows a lotus cannot pull the flower out of the mud to make it bloom faster. They can care for the water, keep the pond clean, allow light, and protect the roots. The flower opens when the conditions mature. If someone tries to force it open with their hands, they destroy the very beauty they wanted to see. Your life works in the same way. Some things are preparing quietly while you continue cultivating the ground. Maybe you are in a season where nobody applauds your process. Nobody sees the times you breathe before reacting. Nobody recognizes the effort it takes not to chase someone who hurts you. Few people notice when you choose to study instead of complain, rest instead of obsess, stay silent instead of begging for attention. But all of that counts. Deep transformation often begins without witnesses. In Buddhism, practice does not happen only on a meditation cushion. It happens when you wait for an answer without losing your dignity. It happens when you do not turn your anxiety into pressure on another person. It happens when you prepare your life for what you desire, instead of staring only at what is missing. There is nobility in this kind of active waiting. It is quiet, but it builds strength. An impatient mind wants visible results in order to feel safe. A trained awareness learns to respect invisible roots. Ask yourself today, what can I cultivate while this arrives, or while I discover whether it should arrive at all? Perhaps you can cultivate patience. Maybe you can improve your skills. Maybe you need to heal a way of loving that makes you dependent. Maybe the true work is learning how to be with yourself without using someone else as anesthesia. None of this is a waste of time. It may be the exact purpose of this season. Do not wait like someone sitting in a dark room counting minutes. Wait like someone preparing a home for something valuable, even without knowing when it will knock. Clear resentment. Order your habits. Strengthen your word. Make space in your heart. Look at what cannot come with you into the next chapter. If the result appears, it will need a version of you capable of holding it without fear. If it does not appear, that same version will allow you to keep walking without believing everything was lost. Conscious waiting is not emptiness. It is training. It is ripening. It is a quiet form of self-respect. You are not stuck just because the world has not moved as quickly as you wished. There may be immense growth happening inside you right now. Honor that growth. Do your part calmly. Let life do its part without being pushed by your desperation. Chapter 7. When you stop forcing other people to change. Much human suffering comes from waiting for someone else to become who you need them to be. You want them to understand. You want them to come back. You want them to apologize. You want them to value what you gave. Maybe you imagine a conversation where they finally see their mistake, look at you clearly, and say the exact words your heart has waited months to hear. That imagined scene may comfort you for a few minutes, but it can also keep you tied to a door that remains closed. Buddhist wisdom does not deny the pain of not being loved, understood, or cared for in the way you deserved. That pain is real, but it shows you the difference between expressing your truth and demanding that someone awaken at the exact moment you need them to. You can speak honestly, but you cannot force someone to understand. You can love deeply, but you cannot force a heart to respond with the same depth. You can forgive if that process comes, but you do not have to keep standing where you are being wounded. This teaching is difficult because it touches a very private hope. The hope that if you explain better, give more, wait longer, or become more patient, the other person will finally change. Sometimes they do. People can mature, listen, repair, and return with humility. Sometimes they do not. And when they do not, your task is not to destroy yourself, trying to create a consciousness that does not belong to you. Remember the story of a person who stood before a closed door. Every morning, he knocked. At first, he knocked with hope, then with anger, later with tears. Days passed, and his knuckles began to bleed. A teacher came near and asked, "What are you looking for?" The person said, "I want the door to open." The teacher looked at the wounded hands and said, "Do you want the door to open, or do you want to stop bleeding?" That question made him silent. For the first time, he stopped looking at the door. He looked at his hands. Many relationships become exactly that, a closed door and forgotten hands. Maybe you have been so focused on getting someone to change that you stopped noticing how much it hurts to keep waiting there. Love should not require you to disappear. Compassion does not mean tolerating every wound. Patience should never be confused with self-abandonment. In Buddhism, compassion includes all beings, and you are also a being. Your suffering deserves care too. Your peace matters too. Sometimes to stop forcing someone is not an act of coldness, but an act of clarity. It means recognizing, I have said what I could say. I have given what I could give. Now I must return to myself. Some conversations are necessary. Some boundaries are necessary. Some endings are necessary. None of them has to come from hatred. They can come from calm strength. You can wish someone well and still refuse to let them remain at the center of your life. You can understand someone's wounds without justifying the way they hurt you. You can have compassion for their process without offering your dignity as payment. At first, this maturity may feel strange because the attached mind believes that letting someone go means losing. But often, letting someone go is how you stop losing yourself. If today you are waiting for someone to change, breathe before you insist again. Ask, have I expressed my truth clearly? If the answer is yes, ask another question. Am I waiting for love, or am I waiting for an old wound to be repaired? Then listen to your body. The body knows when a place is no longer home. The tight jaw, the closed stomach, the exhaustion after every conversation, the anxiety before every reply. Do not ignore those inner bells. Peace does not always come when the other person changes. Sometimes it comes when you stop negotiating your soul so someone will stay. A healthy relationship does not need to be constantly pushed in order to exist. Real love does not require you to beg for basic presence. When you stop forcing others, you recover energy to care for the one heart that is directly under your responsibility, your own. Chapter 8. When you stop forcing yourself to succeed immediately, you can also force yourself until your own life becomes a place where you cannot breathe. Maybe no one pressures you as much as you pressure yourself. You look at your age and start counting. You see friends buying homes, getting married, having children, changing careers, building a visible image of stability. Then you return to your own reality and feel a sharp ache. I should be further along by now. That sentence sounds like motivation, but often it is inner violence. It does not guide you. It humiliates you. It does not organize your life. It crushes your spirit. Wanting to grow, improve, and build a meaningful life is healthy. Treating yourself as a failure because your path does not follow someone else's timeline is not. Buddhist wisdom reminds us that each person walks with different causes, conditions, wounds, lessons, and timing. Comparing yourself as if everyone began from the same place is an unfair way to see yourself. Perhaps others reached certain milestones earlier, but they did not carry exactly your fears, your history, your losses, your responsibilities, your nights of uncertainty, your silent battles. This is not said to turn you into a victim. It is said to return you to a more compassionate and more accurate view. You have survived days nobody saw. You have moved forward with wounds that never appeared in any photo. There were moments when simply getting out of bed was an act of courage. Yet the comparing mind erases all of that and shows you only what is missing. That mind is never satisfied. If you achieve something, it quickly finds someone who has more. If you move forward a little, it says you should have moved earlier. If you rest, it accuses you. If you fail, it condemns you. Living under that voice is not discipline. It is punishment. Buddhism does not reject effort. It speaks of right effort. But right effort is not born from self-hatred. It is born from clarity, responsibility, and the sincere wish to reduce suffering and cultivate a more conscious life. You can work toward your goals without insulting yourself. You can improve without despising your starting point. You can recognize that something needs to change without using shame as a whip. Imagine someone who scrolls through social media every night. They see weddings, promotions, vacations, perfect bodies, carefully edited smiles. They close the screen feeling behind. They do not see the debt behind a photo, the conflict behind a marriage, the anxiety behind a successful career, or the loneliness behind a perfect image. They compare their full inner life with selected fragments of other people's outer lives. That comparison is not reality. It is a well-presented illusion. When you believe it, you begin forcing success to escape the feeling of inferiority. Every goal becomes a courtroom. If you achieve it, you are worthy. If you do not, you are nothing. Free yourself from that court. Your worth did not begin on the day you achieved something, and it will not end because something takes time. Life is not the same race for everyone. Some paths require more seasons. Some souls mature through delays that later become depth. You are not late to your life just because your story does not look like someone else's. The wiser question is not, why do they have what I do not have yet? A better question is, what kind of life can I build without betraying myself in the process? Another question may help. What can I do today with honesty, without punishing myself for what is still unfinished? That is a cleaner way to move forward. Work, learn, care for your money, develop your talent, take concrete steps, but stop turning every step into an accusation. Nothing blooms well under constant self-hatred. Even if you achieve something from that energy, peace will not arrive. The pressure will simply choose a new object. Give yourself permission to move with firmness and tenderness at the same time. Both can exist together. Discipline does not have to be cruel. Ambition does not have to be desperate. Growth does not have to come from shame. You are a life in process, not a defective project. Remember this, especially on the days when it seems everyone else is moving faster. Maybe you are not late. Maybe you are learning how to arrive whole. Chapter 9. Peace does not come after the result. It begins with the way you breathe today. If you place your peace always in the future, you will never truly reach it. Today you say, I will be calm when that person answers. Tomorrow it becomes, I will be calm when I get the job. Later, another condition appears. More money, more certainty, more recognition, more love, more clarity, less uncertainty. A mind that has not learned to rest turns every achievement into a brief stop before the next anxiety. That is why peace cannot depend only on everything going your way. It must begin here, in the middle of what is unfinished, while there are still questions, while you do not have every guarantee, while something is missing. This is one of the deepest and most difficult practices. Not waiting for life to be perfect before you treat yourself with calm. The breath is a humble doorway into this truth. It is always with you, but you rarely listen to it. When anxiety grows, the body moves ahead of danger. The breath becomes short, the shoulders rise, the jaw tightens, the stomach closes. Then the mind says, I need this to be resolved before I can be okay. But the body can receive a different message before the situation changes. You can breathe more slowly. You can soften your shoulders. You can feel the weight of your feet. You can return to this moment, not as a magic solution, but as an act of coming back. Buddhist wisdom teaches that the present is the only place where life can be touched. The past lives as memory. The future lives as imagination. Both influence you, both matter, but only now can you inhale. Only now can you choose not to hurt yourself with the next thought. Only now can you place a hand on your chest and say, even though this has not arrived, I will not abandon myself. Do this for a moment. Bring attention to the center of your chest. You do not need to believe in anything special. Breathe and notice that you are alive. Inhale gently, exhale slowly. Let this sentence settle inside you. In this moment, even though that has not arrived, I can return to myself. The mind may protest. It will say this is not enough. It will say you need answers, guarantees, signs. Thank it for trying to protect you, but do not give it total control. Sometimes the anxious mind believes worry is a form of love. It believes that if it stops watching, everything will be lost. The breath teaches something different. You can care without obsessing. You can wait without tightening. You can live this day even if the future is unresolved. Do not wait for someone to love you before you speak to yourself with respect. Do not wait for success before you allow yourself to rest. Do not wait for life to be perfectly organized before you drink water. Walk slowly. Look at the sky. Sleep better. Say no. Ask for help. Clean your space. Pray. Meditate. Or sit quietly for 5 minutes. These acts seem small, but they tell the heart, not all of my well-being is held hostage by a result. That sentence can save you through many dark nights. Peace does not always arrive as a grand revelation. Sometimes it begins as a longer exhale, as the choice not to check your phone for 10 minutes, as the dignity of not chasing someone who has already heard your truth, as turning off the screen and preparing something warm to eat, as closing your eyes and remembering that you are still here. Suffering increases when you postpone life until everything is complete. But life is never complete for very long. There will always be something uncertain, something pending, something changing. If you do not learn to breathe in the middle of uncertainty, peace will always remain far away. Practice now, not tomorrow. Not when everything is solved. Now, in this body, on this day, with this story still open. The result may take time. Your return to yourself can begin with the next breath. Chapter 10. Letting go is not losing. It is returning everything to its proper place. Many people do not let go because they believe letting go means giving up. They think if they soften, they will stop loving. If they stop insisting, they will lose the opportunity. If they stop worrying, something terrible will happen. If they stop suffering over someone, then what they felt must not have been real. This confusion keeps many people tied to pain that no longer teaches, only drains. Letting go does not mean saying, I do not care. It means saying, this matters to me, but I will not allow it to destroy my inner life. There is a great difference between abandoning and releasing. Abandoning may come from despair. Releasing comes from understanding. When you abandon, you close your heart because you no longer want to feel. When you release, you keep your heart open, but you no longer allow one desire to own your peace. You can still want something and stop chasing it with anxiety. You can love someone and accept that you cannot walk their path for them. You can desire a goal and stop using it as the measurement of your dignity. In Buddhism, attachment disorders the relationship between things. It places at the center what should only occupy a place. A person becomes your oxygen. A job becomes your identity. An answer becomes your salvation. A wound becomes your name. Letting go returns each thing to its proper place. The person becomes a person again, not your only source of value. The work becomes part of your life, not the final judge of your existence. The answer becomes information, not a sentence about your right to be loved. The wound becomes an experience, not the whole of who you are. This returning brings peace, not loud peace, but sober, adult, deep peace. Maybe it still hurts. Maybe you still miss someone. Maybe you still wish something had happened differently. None of that prevents letting go. Letting go does not erase feelings. It removes their power to govern you completely. Imagine carrying a backpack for years. Inside it, you placed expectations, memories, promises, explanations that never came, dreams that did not happen, words that wounded you, proof that you should have been chosen. At first, you thought carrying it was a way of keeping the story alive. Over time, your back began to ache. Then someone says, "You can put it down." The mind answers, "But if I put it down, everything will have been for nothing." No, putting the backpack down does not deny the road you walked. It only prevents you from continuing bent under its weight. Some things return only when you are no longer standing before them with trembling hands afraid to lose. And some things do not return, but when you release them, you return to yourself. That is a truth we do not always want to hear, even when it sets us free. What you cannot release possesses you. What you return to its place can live beside you without devouring you. Try a simple practice. Name quietly what feels heavy. Then say, "I return you to your place. You will no longer be the center of my life." If it is a person, allow them to be human, limited, free, responsible for themselves. If it is a dream, allow it to be important, but not absolute. If it is a loss, allow it to be painful, but not infinite. If it is guilt, allow it to teach, but not imprison you. Freedom often begins with a sentence like this. At first, it may not feel powerful. It may feel frightening because you are used to living with clenched hands. But then space begins to appear. The chest opens a little. The mind repeats the same scene with less force. Slowly, the days recover color. You understand that letting go was not losing what you loved. It was stopping the loss of yourself in the attempt to keep it. What belongs to your path can meet you with cleaner energy. What does not belong will no longer have permission to break you. That is the dignity of non-attachment. It is not about loving less. It is about suffering less blindly. Chapter 11. Some things do not arrive because they no longer belong to your path. Not everything you desire is meant to become your destiny. This sentence may be uncomfortable, but it can also save you. Sometimes the mind clings so tightly to an image that it cannot see whether that image is still good for the heart. You want that job, that person, that answer, that opportunity, that return, that version of life you imagined. You have suffered so much for it that letting it go feels like wasting all the pain you invested. So you keep waiting, not always out of love, but because you do not want to accept that maybe the path has changed. Buddhist wisdom does not promise that everything will arrive exactly as your desire designed it. That would be a false promise. Instead, it teaches something more mature. When you stop forcing, what is right for your path can come closer, and what no longer belongs can leave without destroying you. Some absences are wounds, others are protection. Some losses hurt because something valuable ended, others hurt because the ego did not want to accept that this was not the place. Seeing the difference requires calm. A desperate mind calls anything it wants destiny. A more peaceful mind learns to ask, does this truly nourish me? Or am I just trying to win a battle against rejection? Imagine someone who dreams of joining a certain company. They prepare, apply, interview, and imagine a new life. The final answer is no. For weeks, they feel ashamed. They believe they lost a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. A few months later, they discover that the company had a destructive culture, impossible hours, abusive leadership, and exhausted employees, leaving with no light in their eyes. The rejection does not erase the original pain, but it reveals another view. Maybe that closed door prevented an elegant prison. This also happens in relationships. Someone does not stay, and your first reaction is to think you were not enough. Later, you look more clearly and recognize signs you had ignored. The lack of reciprocity, the constant anxiety, the way you made yourself smaller to avoid disturbing them, the effort required to sustain something that only breathed when you pushed it. Their leaving hurt, but it also returned to you, a life you were abandoning. Do not use this teaching to deny grief. If something does not arrive, you may cry. If a door closes, you may feel anger. If a dream changes, you may need time. Spirituality is not decorating loss with beautiful phrases. It is moving through loss without turning it into your identity. Accepting that something does not belong to your path does not mean it never mattered. It may have mattered deeply for a season. It may have taught you, opened you, shaken you, shown you parts of yourself that needed healing. But not everything that teaches must stay. Some people are teachers, not homes. Some opportunities are mirrors, not destinations. Some delays are signs that you are trying to enter a place too small for the person you are becoming. When something does not come, ask gently, am I being punished or am I being redirected? Do not answer from fantasy. Look at the facts. Look at your peace. Look at your body. Notice whether that desire makes you more conscious or more desperate. Notice whether it expands you or makes you shrink. Life does not always take things away to harm you. Sometimes it removes what your fear would have chosen, so your awareness can choose better. This idea requires humility. The ego wants to be right. Wisdom wants to be free. There is a great difference. If part of you is still waiting for something that does not come, do not force yourself to let go all at once. Begin by admitting a possibility. Maybe this is not against me. Maybe life also cares for me when it does not give me what I asked for. That sentence can open a new breath. Not every rejection is final. Not every delay is abandonment. Not every absence is loss. Some things do not arrive because life is making space for a wider truth. When you are ready to see it, you may be grateful you did not enter certain places with your soul blindfolded. Chapter 12. When the mind stops forcing, wisdom begins to appear. A desperate mind sees very little. Even when it thinks constantly, it does not see clearly. It runs from one possibility to another, imagines threats, exaggerates signs, searches for control, and confuses urgency with intuition. In that state, every silence looks like rejection. Every delay looks like danger. Every change looks like loss. That is why decisions made from panic often leave a bitter aftertaste. They were not born from truth. They were born from fear trying to escape itself. When you stop forcing, something different begins. You may not receive an immediate answer, but space appears. Space is necessary for wisdom to arise. Imagine a lake stirred by strong wind. If you look into it, you cannot see the bottom or the reflection of the sky. Everything is broken on the surface. No one needs to punish the lake for not reflecting clearly. The wind simply needs to settle. The mind is the same. While it is shaken by attachment, it reflects only fragments. When it becomes calmer, it begins to show what you could not see before. Maybe you realize you did not truly want to continue. You were only afraid to start again. Maybe you see that you kept insisting on a relationship because you did not know how to sit with loneliness. Perhaps you understand that a goal was not truly yours, but a way to earn approval. In calm, options appear that anxiety had hidden. Continue, pause, change direction, speak honestly, stay silent, ask for help, close a cycle, wait a little longer, or leave without hatred. Peace does not make you weak, it makes you precise. Many people confuse serenity with lack of strength, as if only the person who shouts, demands, and pushes is serious about life. but a serene person can be deeply firm. Often, they are firmer because they are not acting only to calm a temporary emotion. They act from a wider view. In Buddhism, mindfulness is not escaping the world. It is seeing the world without the distortions of fear. When you look from attachment, you only ask, how do I get this? When you look from awareness, you also ask, does this reduce my suffering or feed it? Does this come from love or from lack? Does this respect my dignity? Is this aligned with the person I want to become? These questions can change the direction of your life. They may not always give you the most comfortable answer, but they will give you a cleaner one. Maybe wisdom tells you to keep trying, but with a different rhythm. Maybe it shows you that you need a boundary. It may tell you to apologize, to stop waiting for an apology, to study more, to rest, to accept a loss, or not to make a decision today because your mind is too wounded. That last one is also wisdom. Not everything must be resolved at the moment of greatest emotional intensity. Sometimes the most intelligent thing is to avoid causing harm while the water is still muddy. Waiting for the mind to clear is not cowardice. It is respect for the life your decisions will touch. When you feel the urge to force something, pause before acting. Take 3 breaths. Ask, if I were not afraid, what would I see here? Then ask, if I treated myself with love, what would I choose? These 2 questions may reveal more than an entire night of obsession. The mind that forces believes there is only one exit. Wisdom knows life usually has more doors than fear allows you to see. Some doors open forward, others open inward, others open when you accept that you did not need to enter. Do not look for clarity inside the noise you keep feeding. Let the wind settle. Stop striking the water. Allow the surface to calm. Then you will see better. Not because life is simple, but because your vision will be less contaminated by desperation. There begins a quiet freedom. The freedom to respond instead of react. To choose instead of chase. To live from awareness instead of being dragged by fear. Chapter 13. Do your part, then let life do its part. Spirituality becomes real when it touches your daily actions. It is not enough to say, I let go, if you keep acting from the same fear. It is also not enough to say, I trust, if you use trust as an excuse to do nothing. The healthy path is balance. Do your part with sincerity, then let life do its part without trying to invade everything. Some things do belong to you. Learning belongs to you. Working with discipline belongs to you. Speaking truthfully belongs to you. Caring for your body, organizing your habits, protecting your dignity, opening yourself to new possibilities, asking for help, improving your skills, keeping your word, resting when exhausted. These are within your field of action. Other things do not belong to you. You cannot control another person's emotions. You cannot decide when someone will be ready to love. You cannot change the past. You cannot force time to give you unripe fruit. You cannot control everyone's opinion. You cannot accelerate every cause and condition just because your anxiety wants relief. You suffer greatly when you confuse these 2 territories. Sometimes you stop doing what is in your hands because you are obsessed with what is not. At other times, you do too much, but from an energy that tries to control even the uncontrollable. Both forms exhaust you. Conscious action asks, what is the next right step? It does not ask, how do I force life to give me total certainty? That kind of certainty does not exist. You can reduce risks, prepare, choose better, set boundaries, and cultivate wisdom. But you cannot remove uncertainty from life completely. No one can. Maturity means walking without demanding impossible guarantees. Imagine you want to build a healthy relationship. Your part is to speak clearly, listen, be honest, care for your wounds, avoid manipulation, refuse to beg, protect your boundaries, and remain truthful. The other person's part is to respond from their own level of consciousness. If you try to do their part too, the relationship becomes heavy. Imagine now that you want to improve your professional life. Your part is to learn, practice, apply, ask for feedback, rise after rejection, and organize your time. Life's part includes opportunities, context, people who make decisions, and timing you do not control. If you obsess over that second part, you lose energy that should go toward the first. This distinction may seem simple, but it changes the way you live. Each morning, you can ask, "What belongs in my hands today?" That question brings power back to you. Not arrogant power, but peaceful power. Do what can be done today, not what you imagined should already be resolved, not what others need to see before they clap for you. Do the real step, the clean step, the possible step, then release the demand to see the fruit immediately. Fruit needs its own process. Practice is sowing without opening the soil every hour, caring without suffocating, acting without begging, loving without possessing, preparing without hating the weight. There is great peace in knowing you do not have to carry all of life on your back. You only need to be responsible for your part with presence. When you do that, even if the result takes time, you are not lost. You are living with responsibility. You are training adult trust. You are saying, "I do not control everything, but I do not abandon myself." That sentence has strength. It reminds you that letting go does not mean living without direction. It means walking without turning every step into a battle against time. If something is meant to arrive, it will meet a steadier version of you. If something does not arrive, it will not find you destroyed. That is the blessing of doing your part and leaving the rest to wider causes. Life does not always obey, but it responds better to a mind that is not fighting every moment. Walk today in that way, with effort, but without violence, with desire, but without prison, with faith, but also with responsibility. Chapter 14. Everything comes when your heart no longer needs to possess it. The title of this audiobook does not mean every desire will arrive exactly as you imagined it. That would be comforting, but it would not be true. Everything will come does not mean the person will return. The job will be that specific one. The answer will be the one you wanted, or life will sign the contract written by your fear. It means something deeper. What is right for your path can find you when you stop destroying your present, trying to possess it. When you release desperate force, 3 quiet changes begin. First, your heart becomes lighter. You no longer carry every minute as proof of abandonment. You no longer turn every silence into punishment. You no longer wake up feeling that you must chase life before it escapes. Second, your vision becomes clearer. You begin to see whether what you desire truly nourishes you or only calms a wound for a moment. You recognize signs you once ignored. You discover paths you had not considered. You understand that sometimes the new cannot enter because your hands are still full of what no longer breathes. Third, life has space to move again. What is healthy does not grow well in a mind that squeezes everything with fear. A healthy relationship needs air. A meaningful project needs maturation. A wise decision needs silence. Even your own identity needs space to change. When you stop forcing, you do not become indifferent. You become available. Available to receive without clinging. Available to lose without breaking completely. Available to act without desperation. Available to discover that what you were seeking outside may have been a way of returning to yourself. Some things may come back when you stop chasing them because they no longer feel the pressure of your fear. Other things will not return, and their absence will open a place where something more honest can grow. Something unexpected may also happen. One day you realize that what you were waiting for no longer has the same power over you. Not because you hate it, not because you denied it, simply because your soul matured. The person who needed that thing in order to feel whole is no longer the same. That is a sacred arrival. You coming back to yourself. Buddhist wisdom does not offer false certainty. It offers a humbler and stronger certainty. You can live without turning desire into a chain. You can love without possessing. You can work without abusing yourself. You can wait without forgetting how to breathe. You can lose without losing your dignity. You can receive without becoming dependent. That is the heart of non-attachment. It is not emptiness, it is freedom. Think of everything you have tried to force, maybe a conversation, a relationship, an opportunity, an apology, a version of yourself you wanted to reach faster. Look at the exhaustion that effort has left behind. You do not need to hate yourself for it. At that time, you did not know another way to feel safe. You believed that if you gripped harder, it would hurt less. Now you can learn something different. You can slowly open the hand. You can say, "Let what must come, come. Let what must leave, leave. Let what can remain, without destroying, my peace remain. And let me not abandon myself through any of it." That is not passivity. It is an inner posture. From there, you keep living. You keep creating. You keep loving. You keep choosing. But you are no longer a slave to one outcome. One day, maybe closer than you think, you will look back and understand that the most beautiful things did not arrive when you chased them until your soul was exhausted. They arrived when you were present enough to receive them without fear. Or perhaps you will discover that something did not arrive because it was never yours, and still life did not end. In both cases, you will have gained something immense, a peace that does not depend on possession. When the heart stops demanding, life begins to breathe. And when life breathes, what is true finds its way. For a long time, I believed waiting was a form of failure. I thought that if something had not arrived, maybe I was not capable enough, worthy enough, strong enough, or loved enough. So I tried to do more, control more, explain more, prove more. I wanted answers to come quickly because I did not know how to sit quietly with myself. I wanted doors to open because I confused a closed door with a life sentence. I wanted certain people to understand my value because I had not yet learned how to hold it without their recognition. But the more I forced, the smaller I felt inside. Every attempt to control seemed to bring me closer to what I wanted, yet it was actually taking me farther from peace. While writing these teachings, I understood something that did not arrive as a brilliant idea, but as a simple truth. Not everything that takes time is lost, and not everything that fails to arrive is punishment. Sometimes waiting reveals the way we have been hurting ourselves. Sometimes it shows how much of our life we have placed in the hands of one result. Sometimes it teaches that desire is not the enemy, but attachment can become a quiet form of suffering. What touched me most was not learning to wait longer. It was learning to wait without turning waiting into a place of torture. I feel this audiobook is for someone who is tired of gripping, someone who has tried to be strong for too long, someone who looks at life and wonders if they are late, forgotten, or still worthy of something good. If that person is you, I do not want to give you empty comfort. I will not promise that everything will arrive exactly as you imagined. That would be unfair to your pain and to the truth of life. What I can say is this: when you stop forcing, something inside you begins to heal. The outer world may not change in the first instant. The call may not come yet. The door may not open yet. The path may not be clear yet. But your relationship with yourself changes. You stop speaking to yourself as if you are the problem. You stop chasing from the wound. You stop turning every delay into evidence against your worth. That transformation is already an arrival. It is an arrival home. Now I understand that letting go is not turning away from life. Letting go is no longer strangling life with fear. It is doing what belongs to us and allowing the rest to find its own rhythm. It is loving without begging, working without hating ourselves, waiting without freezing the present. It is looking at an absence and saying, "This hurts, but I will not destroy myself because of it." It is looking at a desire and saying, "I honor you, but you will not own me." Maybe that is true wisdom. Not always getting what we want, but becoming someone who does not lose their center while life responds. If you are waiting for something today, place one hand on your heart. Breathe slowly. You do not have to solve everything now. You do not need to chase more in this moment. You can stay with yourself. You can care for yourself while you do not know. You can keep walking without turning uncertainty into a sentence against your life. And perhaps, when you are no longer trying so hard to possess life, life will find a softer, wiser, and more truthful way to come to you.